So, Kathryn, it is good to see you again. For those who may not know who I'm sitting here via Zoom, I'm sitting here with the Reverend Dr. Kathryn Threadgill, the director of the Vital Congregations Initiative. And so, before we go any farther, Kathryn, I know that you have some news for us.
I do, and I appreciate being able to be present in this way with you all to share this news, because after the national staff kind of got together and discerned presbyteries that we felt like were called and ready to be in this relationship with us, we reviewed Philadelphia Presbytery thoroughly, and we felt like upon your application, that it only made sense to move forward with you all. We are so excited that you're going to be a part of the Vital Congregations Initiative. We were so blown away by your letter of interest and by the work that's already gone into this presbytery, what the Spirit. And so we can't wait to take this leap of faith with you all and to do this journey together into what the Spirit of God is leading us to. So we look forward to it. We're excited, and congratulations to all of Philadelphia Presbytery. Yes.
That is so exciting. We are thrilled and honored and humbled to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to sharing that news with our presbytery tomorrow. They may even be watching this from the floor of the presbytery, certainly from our pre-presbytery conversation. We are so thrilled. And in many ways, it's a celebration of our churches and the folks and what they're doing. So we're really looking forward to it. Thanks for your work, for how you and your team have framed such a faithful, theologically honest, and rich revitalization tool that'll be a gift for our churches and our ministries. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. That means a lot to us. We definitely want to come alongside and support you all as best we can as you walk through this process. And so we look forward to being in this relationship with you.
Yeah, we're thrilled. What we're most looking forward to is how so much of what you're doing is beyond consultation. And I love just debunking that right out of the gate, that this is something that is not like your ancestor approach to like a packaged program that's going to promise you a quick fix to your solutions. And so we're really looking forward to that. And in the midst of all that we've got going on as a presbytery, where we've been really kind of framing our ministry as a ministry and leadership incubator, a teaching and equipping presbytery, we really believe that this initiative fits right into that paradigm as we make our turn into 2020. So that said, if you could share with us a little bit about what is the vision of Vital Congregation that we will be a part of, in a nutshell, for those who are maybe unfamiliar, or particularly those who are sitting on the fence.
Yes, I would love to. And I appreciate you being right off the bat to say that this is not some magic pill or some quick fix to assuring congregations that they'll be exactly as they are. Because the reality to this process that we put together is that it's an intentional assessment and discernment and walk of faithfulness that each context is going to have to figure out on their own. And it's going to look different within each context and each particular church. And so what it is it's a 2-year process that says, hey, if we faithfully walk through this intentionally using the same language and exploring the same vital marks together, if we join in these prayerful pastor cohort groups, where could the Spirit of God lead us as a church, as a presbytery, into the new things that Christ is doing in the church and through the church? And so it's really a time to assess ourselves as congregations, to really discern where the Spirit of God is leading us. And then in year 2, to live into some new actions and some new vitality of what that looks like for each particular context. So from our end, we are resourcing that 2-year process we are supporting as we walk with those congregations who are going through this initiative. And then we don't just leave you there in that 2-year process, but we continue to walk with you and to resource and support you in year 3 or year 4, because what pilots and other presbyteries are realizing is that this is an ongoing process. It's not some 2-year magical fix to everything.
This program has also incorporated a lot of coaching behind it, how whether it's facilitators or cohort models. Can you share about that a little bit, about how that paradigm of the program has been helpful, or at least what your hopes are for it?
Yes. The intentionality behind choosing facilitators from within Philadelphia Presbytery is because these are people that are known throughout the presbytery. They have good standing with pastors and with churches, and they are trusted by those presbyteries, and hopefully are not going anywhere for a time, so that they are then sent and trained by my office, but they reside within that presbytery, as opposed to just sending people in who are going to tell us what to do as a church. These facilitators are identified by you all, and they're trained by us. And then likewise, because we're intentional about these relationships that we want to keep, you all as a presbytery will be given one national staff person from the Vital Congregations team, and one coach from the Vital Congregation team. So you'll have 2 liaisons who are identified to Philadelphia Presbytery, and their job is to just pray with you, to walk with you and make sure you understand the initiative, to make sure that you have the resources that you need, and to support you prayerfully in whatever ways they're able to do so as you walk through this intentional journey together.
That's wonderful. And for those who are listening in here, it's a reminder that the presbytery will be benefiting from this as much as our local congregations too. But then the local congregation, their pastors and leaders, will be nested into a cohort that will be facilitated by these leaders you're mentioning, correct?
Right. So there is a 2-year process that the presbytery is walking through to help strengthen them and to help provide the intentional necessary relationships to these churches. So as churches individually are walking through something together with their congregation, so the presbytery is walking with them as well through their own set of guidelines and site visits and prayer and resources as well.
But the other thing that I think was exciting for us as a presbytery was to remind our churches that to participate in a movement like this, both as a presbytery and a local congregation, is not to make a statement that we're hitting the panic button. We don't engage in these conversations and these resources when things are at a dire place, although sometimes you do. But you can also enter into this conversation when you're at a place where you're asking healthy conversation or healthy questions of what is the Spirit stirring among us to do something new. And so, to be clear, we're inviting our churches across the board to participate wherever they are, from a place of empowerment and of possibility, not one of anxiety and fear.
Exactly. And I think that we inspire and empower one another when we can have from all different variations. And so the healthiest of churches and those that are seeking more vitality, working together in this initiative, is what allows the Spirit to move and breathe and have its being among us. And so I think that there can always be vitality strengthened as the people of God, no matter where we are as a congregation. And so we've seen within our pilot presbyteries, churches of all sizes, shapes, forms, demographics, economics, sort of backgrounds, come together through this initiative. And it's actually strengthened as a presbytery and as individual congregations to see that variation happen.
Can you share a few places where you have seen it working well of late, whether it be in presbyteries or even in local congregations?
Yes. So there's 3 pilot presbyteries that have tested this initiative for us. San Jose Presbytery, Newark Presbytery, and Trinity Presbytery in Columbia, South Carolina. So Trinity, for example, had 10 churches that sort of launched this initiative within their presbytery. And because of the hope and the energy and the transformation that they're seeing take place within those 10 churches, a new set of 10 churches have shown interest and said, hey, we're ready to do this work now as well. So they actually, as a presbytery, are getting ready to launch their second wave of this initiative to 10 new churches who will be walking through this as well. And so those 10 original churches that have finished up this process are now mentoring those 10 other churches that are getting ready to launch this initiative. So we're seeing exciting ways of them being the connectional church and supporting one another through this process of transformation and revitalization. And we're seeing the Spirit move in some extraordinary ways where churches that were supposed to be on its last breath are seeing new membership and new vitality around Spirit-inspired worship, for example, because they looked into that as a congregation and they made changes to their Spirit-inspired worship.
So back in September, I put you on a hot seat and asked you to share with us what the 7 marks of vitality were. And you did it without notes, I believe. And that was quite impressive. I'm not going to ask if you have notes. But can you share with us what those 7 marks of vitality are?
Yes. So the first one is, and I'm doing this without notes again because I should know these by heart at this point now, 2 years in. But the first one is lifelong discipleship formation. And that is, if we are forming disciples in our congregations from the cradle to the grave as disciples of Jesus Christ, then where I spend my time, how I spend my money, the relationships that I keep in my life, the things that I do are all formed around the fact that I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ. So that both forms and informs my life and the way that I live it. And so we need to do a better job at strengthening people as lifelong disciples of Jesus Christ, so that they know where their time goes on Sunday morning, so that they know where their tithe goes to as disciples of Jesus Christ. And that leads me to the second one, which is intentional, authentic evangelism. And that is because so many of us are so terrified to talk about Jesus or to talk about our faith these days. But if we are doing a better or vital job at intentional, authentic evangelism in our church, well, then we are forming these disciples who are in authentic relationship with other people in the community, in the workplace, in the neighborhoods where they exist, and they have an intentional way about they can't help but share the good news of Jesus Christ in the ways that they act, in the ways that they interact, in the actions that they keep, and the things that they say, so that when people look at me, they wonder, why is this person so different? And I tell them, it's because of my relationship with Jesus Christ. And you know where I learn about that is in my church. And I would love for you to come with me and to see and experience that with me. Because the number one reason why people are going to go to church is because a friend or a neighbor invites them to church. So intentional, authentic evangelism is about being able to talk about our faith with other people in authentic relationship with them so that they come to know and believe in Jesus Christ. The third one is outward incarnational focus. And that has to do with how do we get people to understand that the church was always meant to be an apostolic church. We were always meant to go and make disciples. And so how do we look and see where God is already at work in our communities and in our neighborhoods? And how do we join outwardly and focusing on where God is already present and what God is calling us to do to come alongside and serve and witness there? And so incarnational just means we go out outside our walls to the people that Christ told us to go visit, the imprisoned, the impoverished, those who are in need, those who are considered the least of these among us. Those are the people that we are to reach out and to see where God is already present and gathering people together in our communities and how we can be the church in those places. Number 4 is empowering servant leadership. And that has to do with all of us being a part of the body of Christ. And within our churches, if we're all a part of the body of Christ, in fact, each one of us are members of it, and we all have a part to play in the body of Christ. So it's about teaching people their spiritual gifts, allowing all people in the congregation, from the youngest member to the oldest member, allowing them the opportunity to be empowered to serve in the body of Christ in different ways. And so that might mean learning from mistakes or learning from failures, but allowing everybody to put their spiritual gifts to work for the sake of the body of Christ. Number 5 is spirit and spirit worship. And that is whether or not you have a contemporary band or whether or not you have a pipe organ. That's not the point. The point of worship is that we are allowed to come into yes, I know, it's hard to believe that that's not the point. But worship, as we remember, is a day carved out wholly by God. And so we are supposed to come into God's presence in that space and in that time and encounter the Spirit of God there. So no matter what I do Monday through Saturday, I should be able to come into your church on Sunday and find a place in which I can worship there. In my brokenness, in my confession, in my lament, in my joy, I should be able to come no matter how I'm dressed, no matter what I look like, and I should be able to know what's happening within a worship service so that I encounter the Spirit of God in that space and in that time, and I am made richer or challenged through worship because of it. Number 6 is about caring relationships. And I know every single church says, hey, I do caring relationships really well. We have a hospitality team. We have a welcome team. No worries. But if we're practicing caring relationships well, then we're allowing people to come in their brokenness, in their lament, in the addiction that they struggle with, in the thing that they need help with. And we're allowing them to come and find a family of faith that wraps their arms around them and tries to welcome them in. We still worship in the most segregated hour. We still are building out first-time pastors in ministry at an all-time high rate who never go back into parish ministry again after their first call because of their experiences. We are still experiencing a lot of segregation and separation within our church context. And so caring relationships is about, are we authentically living as the family of faith and allowing people to come just as they are into this family and accepting who they are? That means that if I hurt someone's feeling and they leave the church, we don't just let them go, but we actually go after them and try to reconcile those relationships. That's what caring relationships gets at, a deeper, better understanding of what it means to love one another as Christ loves us. And then the 7th one is ecclesial health. If we're doing all these things, we're experiencing ecclesial health as a church. That means that we understand the mission as to why we come together as a church. We're transparent in our budget together. We handle our conflict as a congregation. We learn from one another, and every voice matters in this context. And heaven forbid, we actually enjoy being together as the body of Christ. And so there's joy and play and happiness and health in ecclesial health. Those are the 7 marks that we believe if we can strengthen within congregations, we will see the Spirit of God lead people of God to a more vital life together.
That's wonderful. One of the things I was sharing with some folks back in September is I said, you basically just got a seminary course in about 20 minutes in a conversation with Kathryn. So, and I think in many ways what you're describing too is that this revitalization and Vital Congregations initiative provides some common language for both a congregation, their leadership, but also the presbytery of which they're nested in relationally, so that we all can say we're in this together, and these are the kind of ways we're going to get there. But also, it's not saying we're going to get there as in after 2 years we've fully arrived and we're all at ecclesial health and there's no turning back. We've arrived, but instead it gives us some healthy things when conflict does arise, or when our worship starts to feel stagnant, or when we are not seeing that we're reaching out. We can go back to these marks and say, remember what we talked about there? That let's spend some time there. Let's hold space there for a moment.
Exactly. And so it's that common language that unites us in a process where we can intentionally assess ourselves and sit in reflection and discernment and really say, where is the Spirit of God calling us to strengthen in areas, and where are the areas that should be celebrated because we're testing or we're doing really well at this mark. And so that should be celebrated in our life together as a community of faith.
We were framing this question was with, if the way be clear, what would be your word to us? But now we know that the way has been made clear for us to participate. What is your final word of encouragement to our churches, especially those that might be sitting on the fence of, do I want to do this or not? Is God calling us to participate?
I would say to them that this is an exciting time to be in ministry in 21st century context of North America, and that we're not going to get there on our own. We need one another to be the connectional church and to really build those bridges and to walk forward into the new things that God is doing through the Spirit's power. So as we discern that, as we look at that, we hope that this is a process that will support you as a congregation in that work together and move us all forward into the exciting new things that God has planned for the church. So if you're on the fence about participating, if you're going, I encourage you to check out these resources, explore some samples, listen that's being cast by your presbytery leadership, and to say, is this what the Spirit of God is calling us to do for such a time as this? Because it is an exciting time, it is a bold time, but it's going to take all of us together, being the connectional church, walking forward in this journey. And so we look forward to it with you all.
And we're really excited about it. And we cannot thank you enough for the energy that you have poured out and how you've responded to God's call for such a time as this. To give us this sort of resource that is going to continue to nurture health and faithfulness and spirit-led worship and discipleship and all of those things in churches in our presbytery, but also around the country. Thank you so much for the way that you're allowing God to use you through the work of Vital Congregations. And we're looking forward to that. We're going to be seeing you around.
Yes, I appreciate that so much. And I can't wait to greet so many of you face to face during this time together. And so thank you, Greg, for bringing us together in this way today.
Absolutely. Well, take care, and it's good to be with you.
All right. Blessings to you all. See you.
See you later.